Welcome to VIDEODRONE, a podcast about TV, movies, pop culture, hosted by a couple of Aussie comedians. My name's Ben Vanel. Joining me as always is Tommy Dassler. How you going, Tommy?
Hello, larrikin mode engaged. Thank you for having me.
And joining us as always, rounding out this trio that we've been having since the very first episode, nigh on six weeks ago. It is a woman with the numbers of someone half her age, Jen Fricker.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here in the spirit of the Diggers.
Yeah, real Trans-Tasman alliance we've got going on.
Yep.
But yeah, I want to talk about a movie that I have forgotten to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Before we get into our TV recaps, which will take up, a good 90 minutes. I saw The Brutalist a couple weeks ago.
Oh!
I saw the big Brutal Boys, and
You talked Nickel Boys last year. You're talking Brutal Boys this week.
and I am a brutal boy. I loved it. I absolutely adored the movie. It's like 3 hours 40, I think, close to. Felt like a lean 2 hours. This is kind of, with Honora, probably my favorite movie of sort of this award
Wow.
season. I really, really enjoyed it. Never seen Brady Corbett's stuff before. I know he was an actor and sort of transitioned into directing, but fuck, he knows how to point a camera. Let me tell you that much.
He's been making headlines this week for going on Mark Maron and talking about how he's made no goddamn money for this movie.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I think he got his mum to do the set photos. And his mum is an esteemed photojournalist. But it is also funny to be like, hey mum, can you help take some photos of me and my friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think his point specifically was like when you go on that junket and you're like doing thing where it's like they finished filming it like middle of last year, and then since then he's been doing everything he can to promote the movie, and you don't get any budget for any of that, and you also can't work on any new stuff because you're like in all the award stuff and doing the interviews, and this all takes time, but you get like you get no fee for any of that, which is I don't know. I mean, kind of is like, oh, I guess that probably is how it would work, but I guess one of those things that people don't ever really think about is that like going and doing interviews for something that you've made, it is time consuming, and it does mean that you can't keep working, and if you're not getting paid for that time, then that would be pretty dicey, and especially on a film like that where it's not like he would have taken in like a huge millions of dollars for directing it.
I think it was the whole thing was made for like under $10 million US, which is like,
oh man,
relatively like very, 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 very not a lot of money. Like, because I was watching the Independent Spirit Awards, the Independent Film Awards.
Yes.
And Sean Baker won for, I think, Best Director for Honora. And he was talking about basically, that like all movies are like a minimum, like a 3-year commitment. And that's like up until marketing. And then I guess marketing is another like 6 months perhaps. And it's like, and you're trying to just make sure everyone gets paid and you don't have to take that money. But like, it's crazy how and I'm always bringing stuff back to Oscar nominations, and I'm very sorry, but it's like, because it doesn't mean anything really, but it's just interesting to frame it like this. Yeah. Like, you've got like super top end of like AAA, like Dune and Wicked, which I think had like a $200 million budget.
Yeah.
And it's just getting like trounced by these like smaller films.
It's sick. I did not know that Brutalist was that cheap to make, because it is like stunningly beautiful. It really is, and it feels like an epic story. Probably more so than Dune 2, which I also enjoyed. Like, I love Denis. I love his big, huge scale science fiction stuff, but this was like it's like an immigrant story, and it's very much like it literally starts with Adrian Brody's character like getting off the boat to Ellis Island, looking up at the Statue of Liberty, which with that upside down perspective shot of the statue is like, it's so good. The score is brilliant in it as well, particularly that moment. It really, also it has like a 1 to 2 minute overture of just like, maybe there's something on the screen. I can't remember if it was black or there was just a still, But there was, the overture of the music comes in. It builds to this like cacophony of like sounds and people in this boat. He's like pushing his way up to daylight, essentially. He's like birthed into the country. And it just really fucking hits you hard. And then, just a really, really good exploration of sort of the power dynamics of the immigrant story versus the establishment, poverty versus incredible wealth. And I just fucking love this movie. Everyone's amazing in it. You gotta see it on the big screen.
Yeah, I want to see it on the big screen. I need to find a wedge of time where I can commit 5 hours to get out there and see it.
I've heard, like, because I keep wanting to go and see it. The runtime does put me off a bit. It's got an interval, though.
It does.
I love a movie with an interval.
It felt great.
And because the longest film I've ever sat through was like 4 hours, no interval.
Oh, damn.
And it was a documentary called Menu Trois Gras something.
Menu Plaisir.
Yeah. So it's like a 4-hour documentary about this like very, 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 very fancy French restaurant, and it's like gets into the minutiae of like how they source their butter, what the cows are eating to make the butter, like how and it's like, and it was the longest I've ever sat through, and I didn't realize. I kind of went because I was like, I want to just see if I can do it, like as an endurance test, I guess.
Yeah.
Raw dogging cinema, if you will. But I went there and people had brought like soups and thermoses of like coffee and like
it's like going to the footy.
Totally, like they like packed like meals, and I was like, fuck, like I didn't realize that's what it. I'm just there like with my little like post-mix Coke and popcorn.
Yeah. I'm on board with a snack, but a soup is like
soup is crazy.
That's a tough cinema food.
But then it is also such a food-heavy film that I am like, you need like a decent meal. You need a plate. It's a bring a plate film.
Yeah,
you're gonna walk out starving, just absolutely salivating.
Yeah, I think I went to Hot Pot afterwards, and it was like it was a heavy Hot Pot. It was a big load of Hot Pot after. But
I didn't really feel like, yes, obviously schedule wise, you got to like, I think, I went and saw it on a Sunday evening, like had a light dinner beforehand. But it doesn't feel that long. Like it is a real feat of pacing, because it is very much, first half, second half, sort of themselves paced like 90-minute films. And then you have this 15-minute break. You go get a bit more popcorn. You have a dart.
They should be doing free refills on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They should be doing. If you're seeing the Brutalist, you should get free refills.
Yeah, that should be.
I don't know why, but that spiritually feels right.
Yeah. That should be like a
little
union
massage
rule.
during the interval as well. Yeah.
But it was also good because like I went with my partner and we chatted for the whole 15 minutes of like, wow, what do you think's going to happen with this? How much, like, how enjoyable has this performance been? Like, there are a few things that are quite unpredictable and like very much within the theme that come out of nowhere. And like in the interval, we're like, oh, I love this character. And then by the end, you're like, oh boy, they really pulled the wool over my eyes.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah. Corbett's directed like another feature,
Childhood
Vox
of a
Lux
Dictator.
The one that I kind of had heard of was Vox Lux, which is a Natalie Portman vehicle. Not well received at all.
No, a lot of the like cool like cinema gays I know love Vox Lux.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, okay, that's like that's probably why. I think like what I've heard about, and I also haven't seen Brady Corbett's stuff, but I keep getting Childhood of a Dictator or Childhood of a Leader, whatever it's called, recommended to me by people. What I've heard is that it's just trauma upon trauma upon trauma. And like Vox Lux, I think it's like the Natalie Portman character survives 9/11 and then a school shooting.
Oh, wow.
And then becomes a pop star.
Right.
Okay.
And then there's also maybe some kind of like sexual assault aspect to it as well.
Right.
Was there much like of that kind of vibe in The Brutalist of just layers upon layers of trauma?
Yes, very much so. Like the lead character, what's his name? He's from Hungary. He's from Budapest, as he says. Laszlo, Adrian Brody's character. Yeah, like the first half, and it's a real classic immigrant story of he was a famous architect, like back in what was like the Austro-Hungarian Empire at the time. Like he's designed, like music halls and town halls and theaters and all of that stuff. He comes to America. His cousin gives him a job designing furniture in like a suburban furniture store, and he's sleeping in like the storeroom. And there's like conflict within that relationship that is like completely unfair and sort of pushes him out essentially into homelessness. He's like taking menial jobs, and then there is also constantly the threat and the memory of, because he's like a Jewish guy, survives a concentration camp. Like that's kind of the trauma that he's constantly dealing with. His family are still in Europe, and so a lot of the time he is just constantly freaking out about what's actually going on with them. Not a lot of communication back and forth, obviously, during the time. So yeah, there's a lot of shit that he has to deal with. And then it's also very much like a creative story, like the story of creativity, the story of art. And that also has its ups and downs. And I think he's not a perfect guy. I've seen a bit of criticism of like this character, like, yeah, he has an arc, but he's kind of like a flawless guy within the film, He's like put upon and he has injustices to deal with. But I don't know. I think it's more complex than that. And I also don't want to say too much about it because it really is. The first half sets up this entire sort of expectation in these characters, and the second half is different. So yeah,
I'm keen to see it, and I do want to see it in cinema. I do feel like they have designed it for like to be watched in cinema, right?
Yeah, yes, definitely. You need the scale, and also it's fucking beautiful. Like that VistaVision, film stock. Oh my god, it's a gorgeous film. So yeah, I don't want to say too much more except that I loved it. 5 stars, C+.
Okay, great.
Nice.
Well, I'm keen to get out and see it if I can ever drag myself away from the goddamn idiot box, because there is a lot of good shit on at the moment.
MAFS, incredible.
MAFS is really cooking.
Oh man, for real though, have you guys watched any of this season?
No, but I keep seeing a lot of posts about it. A lot of like, there's some scandal. There's some fucked up shit going on, right?
Yeah, this is the first season I'm watching, and I always avoided it because it has a very dark and evil energy.
Yeah.
And I would say that's dead on. It's absolutely a very evil show. And
it sucks, doesn't it? You hold out because you go, this is like a bad thing for the world. Yeah. But then you watch and you're like, yeah, as it turns out, that's compelling to watch.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think, and you're like, you really don't know who you're rooting for because you're like, I think everyone's bad, including the network. Well,
I mean, it's like they frame it as this like wholesome experiment of trying to help people find love, but when it is just kind of going that way, it's fucking boring.
Yeah.
When you just see people like genuinely getting on, it's
connect.
Like, I don't care. Yeah, good for you, but I don't care. This isn't entertaining television.
No, and then you see people drag each other through some of the most traumatic, like emotional abuse, and you're like, well, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Am I an accomplice to this?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Anyway, that's what I've been watching.
I
also watched a very long fucking Indian film called Kalki 2898. I don't want to get too much into it, but I was on a flight to Perth and I had 4.5 hours to kill.
Oh yeah.
So I watched this film that I randomly saw like Alexi Toliopoulos log on Letterboxd like a year ago, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And it's on Netflix.
Yeah, I think I've seen it get in my recommendations.
Yeah, and it's the most expensive Indian film ever made.
Okay.
And it's so interesting. It's basically like an Indian Marvel / Dune / Star Wars.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard about this. Or watched the trailer. Yeah.
I don't know if necessarily I'd recommend it, But it's really interesting to see like other cultures try and do kind of globalized content.
Right. Yeah.
And there is like very like very obvious parallels. Like there's a character that is very clearly Chris Pratt's character from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
There's chase scenes that kind of look like Star Wars and like rovers and stuff that look like Star Wars. I don't know. Anyway, it's on Netflix. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but like dip in, have a look.
If you ever find yourself on a flight to Perth, throw it on.
It's perfect for a flight to Perth because it's subtitled anyway. It's very loud. There's lots of stuff going on. The pacing of it is wild. It's a very epic story, so it can kind of suck you in, and then it's very done by the end of it. I can't even really... It's like based on like a Hindi creation story about the birth of God, but it's like played like Star Wars.
Yeah, right.
It's basically making the kind of Christian undertones of Star Wars explicit.
Right.
But through the realm of Hinduism.
Yeah. Okay. I will check this out.
It's interesting.
It sounds very interesting.
There's this Chinese animated film that I want to check out that's a sequel that's just overtaken Inside Out 2 to become the most profitable animated movie of all time. I just thought that was crazy that within a year that record got set and broken again for a film that I think has maybe only just come out in the West. I know they like... Yeah, the first one came out, had a subtitled version, but I'd never heard of it. And for the second one to be big enough to, break that record is pretty crazy. Yeah. It looks cool.
It's apparently approaching the highest box office ever of any film.
Wow.
What's the name of this film?
It's called Nezha 2, Nezha 2.
Right.
It's made over $1.9 billion.
Whoa!
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, 1.8 is just from China. So, yeah, I think you're right, Tommy. It's just hitting the West.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
So, it looks cool.
Do you reckon it'll be on at FOMO?
Honestly, it probably will.
Maybe a flight to Perth. Don't discount that.
Yeah.
It's like, you know how boomers do like secret flights to like Antarctica or whatever? Maybe it's just like we put on flights that are just like, now's the time to watch this film you've been putting off watching.
That's not bad. Yeah. I mean, I do. I'm like horrible at checking my phone when I'm watching stuff at home. A flight is where I really lock in and probably pay the most attention outside of just the cinema. Yeah. But yeah, that's a good idea. Just you just go up in the air for whatever the length of the film is. That's a really good idea.
Movie
well, remember
flights.
there was a viral thing. It was like couples can rent a private jet to go root in the sky over Las Vegas. Do you remember that from a couple of years ago?
No.
Okay, you've got different algorithms to mine, I guess. But it's just like you can go up in the air just to like watch a movie, come back down.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to hell anyway. You know, like why not?
Yeah. We flew back from Adelaide yesterday, and we flew Jetstar, and there's now a thing where you have to like pay to just even pick your seat. And we hadn't. Neither of us had done that, and we got there, and we were like, "Hey, can we like check in together and get seated next to each other?" And we got so much fucking attitude from the lady. She's like, if you want to guarantee that you sit next to each other, you really should pay the. And we're like, yeah, but in our defense, we just didn't want to do that. We just didn't want to.
In our defense, we're paying you for a service.
It's just a new thing.
Yeah.
Just a new thing that you've brought in that there's actually no human legwork involved in. So it's kind of absurd that it should be. But then we were joking afterwards because we ended up like the only two seats that were together that we could get were like right at the back next to the toots. And we were like saying, would that lady have been less surly if we were like, does it help if we're saying this because we want to go root in the toilet on the plane? Does that make it better or worse for you?
Yeah.
Does that make you more or less kind of aggro towards us?
Oh man. Did they have that thing? I saw my friend Mel posted on Instagram that at the Jetstar terminal in Sydney, they have now the luggage way. They roll it around to where you're standing in the queue and make you weigh it and then give you an on-the-spot fine if it's over.
Yes.
They do. I managed to slipstream my way in through onto the plane without having that little fucking thing come out. Because this is the thing, I was going over there to do a show. I'd booked it a while ago. Lauren, fairly last minute, decided to come. I hadn't gotten a flight back yet, just to kind of see if she was going to come or not, like hold out. And so yeah, she booked that flight, and then I got on that flight. Which, I mean, if you're traveling for like I need checked luggage. I've got I've got all this shit for the show with me, so it's like by the time you pay for the baggage, and then also I forgot. Oh yeah, your fucking carry-on has a weight limit on it as well. Yeah. God fucking like it. Just all of these costs add up to the point where you're like, I mean, I really am saving no money here. Like, I may as well just be flying Virgin or whatever.
I gotta say,
fuck, it felt good to get out of weighing. Again, it's like, it's not like, oh, it's unsafe to have it on the flight. It's a safety issue. It's like, no, it can still go on the plane. Yeah. You just want to sting me $20 for it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I gotta say, the hack is Jetstar Business.
Oh, yeah.
I flew to Vietnam Jetstar Business.
Ooh,
so it's like all of your baggage allowance is included, but it's the same price as like a normal ticket on a regular airline. So like for what you'd pay for like a cheap-ish economy ticket on Qantas,
right,
you get the Jetstar Business thing. And it's like, it's not a fancy business class. I would say it's like elevated premium economy.
Sure.
But you get included baggage allowance, separate check-in so you don't have to line up.
Yeah.
And you get the priority screening through international customs and security. And so like, yeah, so for what I would pay to just be on to not fly Jetstar.
Yeah.
You get all the extra. Domestic, I don't know if you can do it. I don't know if it exists.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it does. You know,
but
my
I would
friend...
say,
sorry, no, you go.
No, I was going to say the equivalent when I was in Vietnam and flying locally was VietJet. That was crazy because it was like you had to pay a fee. Basically, I had misspelt my name on the booking, something like that.
Yeah.
Where I hadn't misspelt it. I just hadn't put my middle names on the fucking
this
booking.
Exact thing happened to Lauren when we went at the end of last year, and when we were leaving Melbourne Airport, they were like, "Oh look, we'll let you on, but you are going to need to like call them and change this for the way back." Because like, and I've had this too, like I've had when I've been buying the ticket, my details
it says first name
autofill.
and then last name.
Yeah, but I've also had like my details autofill and it put my name as Tom, and then I think it was maybe coming back from Shanghai or something where it's like, this says Thomas, and I'm no, sorry, your ID says Thomas and this says Tom. I'm like, yeah, it's just what I go by. But they're like, what? But no, but this is just this is just an entirely different word, and it's like, no, but it's not. I mean, that's
sure, we can go from the biometric details on my passport that match my human face.
Yeah.
You would think. Yeah, I loved it in Vietnam where they're trying to explain to me like, oh no, because you've already checked in, and your middle names are not on your thing. You've got to pay to uncheck in. Then you've got to pay to change your name. And then you can come back and line up again to like check back in, do a baggage drop. If you want to not have to line up again when you do the check-in and baggage drop after you've paid to change it, uncheck in, change your name, and check back in, that's $10 US. And honestly, I respect the hustle. Like,
yeah. My friend, while we're on travel hacks really quickly, my friend's good one. If traveling internationally, if you wear like a nice shirt or a little jacket on the flight, and then you just cruise through the diplomats line. He's like, they never even check.
Oh, that's so good.
I was like, that rocks.
Wow.
But don't you have to have a diplomatic passport? Wouldn't they just be like...
I don't know. Yeah, he swears it works. It's like, he's motor filming, there's never anyone there, and they're like, well, I don't know, he looks the part.
What are you going to... I mean, what are they going to do? Be like... You're not a diplomat? And then you'll be like, well,
exactly.
Call the embassy right now because you're going to prison.
Yeah. You know, I actually can't go further into what my business is on this trip, and it would be kind of a, like, do you have security clearance?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going through.
They've given me a fake civilian passport because I'm so important.
Yeah.
Which friend is this, Tommy?
Your disgusting government took my diplomatic passport, and so I have to travel on my citizen's passport.
I don't want to name him. I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
I don't want to blow his cover.
Albanese.
His fake cover.
Tony A.
Hey, speaking of travel.
Yes.
I wonder if these are the kinds of travel hacks that some of our friends on the White Lotus might have gotten up to.
I definitely think Walton Goggins' character would have done all of these at some point.
Yeah, he's definitely posed as a fake diplomat. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He may have done it on this trip.
Yeah. He's got into a fight at the check-in counter in a foreign country, for sure.
Oh, he's told someone at Jetstar to go fuck themselves. Absolutely.
He's seen the border security cameras and just sort of quickly put a lid on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not paying the fucking fee, all right?
Yeah. Me and my 4 cartons of cigarettes are not paying the fee.
Yeah. Do we want to go through group by group again?
Yeah. This is episode 2, Special Treatments. I've got a little recap up here. Should we start with Incest Family?
Let's start with Incest.
We have to start with Incest Family.
Yeah.
We do get that montage at the start where we see Lachlan staring at his brother's hairy ass.
Checking out that dot.
Yeah. Fuck.
Posting hole on main.
Yeah. It really was like after Ep 1, it's like, oh, maybe, and you saw so much stuff on the internet about like, this freaky incest family, and it's like, maybe we're reading a bit too much into this. It's a bit of a red herring. And then opening Ep 2 on just him staring into the hole, it's like, all right.
Not so much red herring as fucking great white shark.
Yep.
Coming to
is the
swallow
deadliest
you
catch. Which I still think it may, like... I don't know if this is going down incest territory. I've seen a bit of speculation that maybe Lachlan is like a gay man who is coming to like terms with his sexuality.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
just
look,
because
it
of
is
the proximity of this, his bro.
Yeah.
It's still like a big, broad show. I'd be pretty surprised if we see siblings actually fuck at the end of this season. That's a huge swing.
That's wild. If that was like, and they've already been they've already been greenlit for season 4. So maybe it is just like they're like, you already ordered it, but we have siblings fucking.
We can do what we want. Yeah.
It does feel like it'd be too on the nose.
Yeah.
If they absolutely rooted. Look, I understand a weird vibe, but I don't know. Once again, though, Parker Posey is so good.
Yeah.
As this kind of, sedated medication mum. It's so good. The way it's done so subtly, but just there's something about her eyes that just don't quite focus, and there's a bit of softness on some of her consonants that you're just like, she's so funny. She's so funny.
I think all of my laugh out loud moments from this ep were her. She's like, my MVP for sure.
Yeah, so she has this weird interaction where the girls' trip come over and the girl who lives in Austin is like, oh, I thought I recognized you. That's right, we went to a baby shower together. And she's like, oh, okay. And clearly does remember her, but is just...
Do you think she does remember her? Do you think she... I mean, I guess she does remember her, but like, do you think initially she's like, I have no idea what the fuck?
Maybe, but either way, she's being very. Even she could have just gone, I'm so sorry, I'm terrible at. I don't. Because then she does. The lady does say it was 10 years ago, so it's like, I mean, that's long enough ago to have like. Fair enough. Like I can't. It was such a long time ago, and a lot's happened in between, etc., etc. But she's very. She's kind of, and even then, like, as the lady walks off, her son is kind of grilling her and being like, "You're kind of really rude there."
Yeah,
she's like very evasive. So there's like,
I love it when she's like, "What do these people want from me?"
Yeah.
Like, I love that the girls' trip features an actual celebrity, and then Parker Posey's like, these people that come up to me, what do they want from me?
Yeah.
And then, calling the line, actresses are basically prostitutes.
Yeah. Really good.
So
really good.
Yeah. And yes, you're right. I think it's later on that she's talking to maybe the kids and is like, when you come from money, people, they try and scam you. Not everyone's like us. And so she has, this big guard up, which is like, that was such an odd scene, that initial one, because she's such a like convivial, like friendly, like mom character up until then. And it's like, oh, okay, she's not perfect. She's not completely innocent and naive. Like she's... Yeah.
Because even that speech about like people come after you, it sort of comes out, it gets rolled out at the weirdest time, because it's like, the siblings are fighting, and then she's like, "Can't you all just try and get along?" And then just goes into this like weird
Insane
rant about
monologue.
how people are always after you for something. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What's this got to do with what we were talking about?
And also, she goes into that anecdote about her brother pinning her down and
yeah.
spitting in her face.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, I used to hate him, and now he's one of my best friends.
yeah.
And she's just so great.
Yeah.
And she overhears the husband kind of having a bit of like, as his stuff is kind of building, like he's getting antsy about not being able to get on the phone because of the time difference and everything. And
Journalists
she says,
are on his tail.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
like still kind of out of it, and she says something like, "He just does so much for us," or something like that. Like real, just old school. Like, yes, the head of the household doing it all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so we got Piper. She's doing yoga. She's getting creeped on by some losers back home. Mm-hmm. She is, talking to Lachlan, and they seem like they have a good relationship. But then, Lachlan is clearly, he's passing shit on to Saxon, and back and forth, I guess, because that also was a weird scene.
He's like, Saxon said you're a virgin, and she gets all upset about that. It's like, what business is it of his? And I mean, how old is he meant to be? Because it's like, his brain functions like he's 11 years old and like he's just learnt about sex today.
Yeah.
It's so, even just think of like not knowing that it's like weird to ask anyone, let alone your sister, whether they're a virgin. It's like, he looks like he's like, I don't know, he's still at school, but he's like,
He's like deciding on going to college.
Yeah,
right?
so he's like 18, right? He's like 17,
Yes,
18.
18,
Yeah. So it's
Because he also tells her, like, Saxon kind of said it was hot.
yeah.
It's like, what the
Definitely old enough to know better.
Yeah.
Weird, freaky
Yeah.
little kid. Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean-
Piper kind of seems to be the only one who doesn't have some kind of. Although, look, it is fair enough, but she does also get like very defensive and weird about being asked, about her virginity, which is kind of a fair enough response, but maybe that does hint at something
else.
weird with her going on under the surface. Because, the boys definitely have some strange hang-ups when it comes to sex. So maybe that is just a thing that they've all been kind of burdened with by their freaky upbringing.
Yeah. I say like the pacing of this episode seems to be like really slow, but it is giving us a really nice it's nice to have the time to really soak in how weird their whole vibe is. The conversation between Saxon and Parker Posey, where he complains about going to get his massage and not getting a happy ending.
Oh, yeah.
And how the mother is so tickled by this funny joke
Yeah.
about her son not getting jerked off at the day spa.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. I feel like I've definitely met that family too.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's some kind of like boy mom kind of vibe there where it's like the
Yeah.
boy can say the most horrific things and it just tickles the parents. Like, I don't know. I'm really enjoying really getting to know these characters, and I'm like, something
again.
bad's gonna happen.
I think maybe it was like reading this in advance of the season, but again, I've seen some people kind of critical of the pacing so far and everything, but I'm not minding it.
It's
I'm
different
liking
to
it.
other seasons, I guess, because I feel like the last two seasons definitely more driven by the mystery element.
Yeah.
Whereas I think what we're seeing is it's more of a dissection of the type of people who go to these things. And
I'm loving the pacing. I really am enjoying how we are really getting to know these characters on probably a deeper level than we would have at episode 2 of the previous seasons at least. I'm really liking it. And then so we got the dad as well, who everything's kind of crashing around him. Did you recognize the voice on the phone? I think it's Kenny is the character's name.
Yeah, Ki-Hai Kwan.
Yeah, the great man, Waymond from Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Right.
He's the guy who's fucking got what's the dad's name? Timothy
Timothy,
Tim. He's got him wrapped up
Tim.
in some kind of fraudulent business
Money
dealings. Money laundering. He's freaking out. He's going to kill himself. I imagine and hope he will turn up. I don't know if that's been spoiled in press stuff.
I don't know. I mean, remember in season 2 how Laura Dern is on the phone to Michael Imperioli, and it was the same thing. People kind of thought, oh well, she's going to show up, and then she never did. So maybe that's just I try to remember if there's anything like that in season 1 where they just have a like. I love that as a little thing of just having a real fucking big noter just show up.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, are you guys Frasier people?
Yes.
You know, at the beginning of Frasier, where he would always have like a caller at the beginning of the show, and they were always massive celebrities.
Yeah.
Or like big, like Broadway people. I feel like that's we're getting Frasiered right now.
Yeah, okay.
Caller of the week type of thing.
Yeah.
Which I will say, the one thing about this that bothered me, similar to the kind of strange formatting of the titles, of the subtitles having the kind of transparent tie behind it, and going like, well, that they've not done that in any other season for like the Italian or whatever. So him being on the phone and you can hear the other end, but I'm pretty sure we saw him on the phone in the first ep and we couldn't. You know what I mean? Like we didn't hear the other end of the phone call. Such a non-issue, but like just a real like OCD thing of like inconsistency that kind of annoyed me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, this isn't a format where we like can hear the phone call. Like have him be on, have him be on speaker or something. But like, I don't know. That was a little jarring to me. But yeah,
that's interesting because also part of that scene where Tim's on the phone to Kenny is that I've forgotten the security guard's name. He overhears something's going on.
Oh yeah.
And he overhears Guy Talk overhears Tim telling someone to kill themselves.
Yeah, and as he's very, very explicitly going like, now I'm tied up in this money laundering. Like he's it's not he's like explicitly saying what he's done and what's happening.
Yeah. I think because initially I think what Tim says is like, if this ends up taking me down, I am going to kill you. Which is what Guy Talk would have heard. And then Kenny's like, well, I'm going to fucking kill myself anyway. I really liked his performance, Kwan, on that. I think, that was great. That's that family. Is there anything else?
That's the freaky fucking family.
Lockie does his immersion fucking, what do they call isolation
float tank.
Yeah. Float tank.
Yep.
I'm enjoying them as
Which
sort of
treatment will we all do? Which one will we choose for ourselves?
I wouldn't get the foot bath. Don't love the foot bath idea.
Parker Posey having to take sedatives before her massage. Again, so funny.
That's
so good.
Yeah.
By the way, those like little hammocks that they're in out in the ocean, God, that looked awesome. That looked so fucking nice.
Yeah.
But also, if my brother was being a dick to me in a hammock, it's obviously I'm flipping him out. Like I'm swimming underneath. I'm going boop from the bottom, and he's getting flipped into the ocean.
Yeah. A classic prank.
That's one thing. Much like Tommy's complaint with the diegetic audio, I have a complaint that no siblings are being annoyed by each other enough.
Even though they are saying insane, heinous things.
Yeah. If my brother just talked to me too much during a holiday, I would flip him out of a hammock.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of foot baths, the Belinda character, not a whole heap going on with her this week, but she is attracted to Ponchai. She wants to root him.
I loved how horny this episode was.
Yes,
Generally,
very horny app.
Yeah.
Very, yes. Let's get Belinda out of the way. She is getting horny about Ponchai, but she also recognizes Greg/Gary. She's like, who's this? I remember this dude from the first season. What's he doing here?
And do we think Gary knows who she is? Do we think that Jennifer Coolidge's character ever brought her up to him? Or
I don't know if he ever interacts with her in season 1. Yeah, he might not even know who she is. Even if she brought her up, like he wouldn't,
necessarily know.
Recognize her.
Yeah. So that's a nice little bit of, intrigue there. But not much else happens for her this week, I don't think.
No. Yeah, same as last week. We're just kind of, we know that like her son is coming later on from the cold open. So yeah.
Who else have we got? Well, we've got Mook and Gaitok as well. So he asks her for lunch. She's like, "What are you talking about? I have lunch with the girls. I'm not." He's like, I want to say something to you." He asks her out. He doesn't ask her out initially. He just says, "I like you. Let's get together." Essentially, our families.
Yeah, he's like,
know each other.
We should, like-
your brothers like me.
Yeah.
Do I make you Randy?
Your brothers think I make you Randy.
My mom made this lunch. But and initially she's like, "No. That's, come on, don't be silly." She's she's nice about it, but she basically shuts him down pretty much entirely. And it isn't until he fucking gets pistol whipped around the head and shows his bravery, which, I always thought he was a brave guy, but he got to prove it. And Lil Mook's like, all right.
I'm into the guy talk now.
Yeah, I'm into it now.
Do we think so? The whole thing with Gaitok inadvertently letting some robbers into the White Lotus complex because he's chatting to Valentin about going to the fights.
Yes.
Do we think Valentin's in on the scam? Or do you think Valentin is a patsy?
Ooh. I mean, he's up to something, right?
Part of me is like, we can't just assume he's a criminal because he is a Russian person.
Yeah.
But also,
But-
what are they doing there?
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
he's also smooth talking all the ladies as well. He's telling everyone they've got not all of them, I guess, but
Yeah.
he's smooth talking a couple of them. I don't know. I mean, it is a very convenient distraction that he provides, isn't it? I did not pick up on that at all, but that definitely could be something.
Just because he doesn't turn around as a car whooshes past him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're at I just feel like, I don't know. That just seemed a bit off to me.
Yeah, okay.
But
All
also
right.
maybe he's just a hot dummy too, which is also as plausible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So who else have we got? That's pretty much the whole Gaitok Mook thing. There's a little bit of, something burgeoning there.
Well, to tie into that, we've got Rick and what's her name? Chelsea?
Chloe?
Chelsea?
I don't know.
Yeah, one of those two.
British.
Yeah, British bird.
I am at the
Chelsea.
age where I do need like reality TV style, just the person's name up on
The
the
strap
screen
underneath,
every time they're there.
Yeah.
So not a ton more happening with them really. Like we get a little bit. We see them go on their double date with Greg and his partner, and boy, really weird stuff there.
Yeah.
They met on a matchmaking service in
In
Dubai,
Dubai.
and he thinks she's French and she's French Canadian.
Yeah. And when asked what Greg does, he says a bit of this and that.
I loved this. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
know you're not meant to be siding with him, but I think it's just how much I love Goggins. I'm like,
Yeah.
this guy fucking rules. And so
Yeah.
what do you do with yourself? Well, similar to you, Greg, a bit of this and that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a real market for it, isn't there?
So good.
Fuck you. Like, yeah, he's obviously up to some shit, but it's like everyone else is being a cunt to him, so
Yeah.
fucking why not dish it back?
Yeah.
So yeah, Chelsea was with the friend. I think it's earlier in the day, right? They're at the place that gets robbed. I also, Jen, having brought up Valentine, I thought that the friend was in on it. She goes into the dressing room. She's gone the whole time during the robbery.
Yep.
I was thinking like she's sending like a little text message like, yeah, come on in now. It's full of fucking gold bangles and stuff. And yeah.
Because basically they're on the beach and she goes, oh, we had a big fight last night, and he apologized, and I said, you're going to have to do more than that. Give me that credit card.
Yeah.
They got some really cute stuff at the boutique here. Do you want to come
Yes.
with me? So,
Yes.
Yeah.
That does
Which I
all
think
sound like
is
a setup, right?
Kind
Yeah.
of weird, right?
Yeah.
To go shopping at a hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also do agree with that.
If
I
you're
don't
kind
know.
of that expat lifestyle, you probably know of better places than the hotel boutique.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
She
yeah.
lives up the hill. Yes, very good point.
yeah.
So that also is very sus. maybe they're all in on it together. Maybe she's Russian. Maybe she's not from Quebec. Maybe he's not from Russia.
I would love it if this was just some like old school Cold War, like Reds under the beds, fear mongering type of media. That'd be so good.
Yeah, I'm down for that. But then the other thing is that Rick goes to his meditation session, and I thought that was a great scene.
Incredible scene. Yeah, this is like pure Goggins. It's what he's so good at, which is like the outside character presenting as very gruff, very disinterested, quite aggressive at times, and then like giving us that little like, it's not even that he's gooey or anything, it's just in the way he tells his backstory, he tells you so much, even if it isn't particularly and particularly emotional retelling.
Yes, 100%.
Dad not in the picture. Mum died of an overdose when he was 10. And so, immediately you're like, oh, okay, yeah. And he's, what did she ask him? Like, what's your stress level? And he's like, an 8.
Yeah.
There's a great line where he says, when you put nothing into nothing, nothing comes out or something. There's something about identity that he...
Yeah, because she's like, it sounds like, like he feels like he doesn't have an identity. And she's like, well, childhood shapes that identity. And he's like, it's like, if you got an empty gas can and you don't put any gas in the can, the engine's not going to start. If you put nothing into nothing, then there is nothing. Which is, like you're right, Jen. It's not sentimental, but it is so, like, it's vulnerable in a way, but then he's, like, somehow telling it with no vulnerability. It's such a good performance.
Yeah, it's great. I'm so excited to see that character through this season.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the real, like, juicy kind of arc.
I mean, we kind of even getting this, pretty big bit of character development. We still kind of know nothing. We probably know maybe the least, like, of him out of anyone, really. Like, just in terms of, like, he's kind of got the biggest mystery so far of, like, what's he doing there? And yes, why is he obsessed with this? So he overhears the owner lady say that she's going back to Bangkok because her husband's just gotten out of hospital.
Yes.
And so he gets back from dinner and goes, I'm going to have to go to Bangkok tomorrow for a couple of days. Good that you made a friend, because I be leaving. I be getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So, we maybe next episode we're going to start to find out a little bit more about what he's into.
Also, once again, the actress playing Sritala, I think the character's name is, the owner.
Yep.
Getting that musical scene from her.
Oh, so good.
So fun. Again, it's like, it's such these like really intimate, minute character studies. And again, very slow pacing, but it's a real character-driven piece. And then we get these kind of broad sequences where it's, the hotel manager telling the girls trip that he desperately wants to perform his own songs. Mouthing along the words to Sritala, performing at her own resort, like, so wonderful.
Yeah, doesn't he say like, I've even, I've been practicing, I've written some songs and I'm learning a bit of piano, and they're like, oh, why don't you get up and perform? And he's like, oh, no.
I couldn't, I'm the manager.
So, girls trip. We get actually, I can't remember if this is at the start of the episode, but we do get the sort of the rest of that night, that evening where
it's
Laurie's
very
gone to bed. And they continue talking about her. We get more about her. Like she was in line to become a partner at she's a lawyer, I guess. That's what that is, right? Or I mean, they say corporate kind of world last week, but whatever that like she
and she's
not got that promotion.
And she's got to be in New York for work, so
that's right. That whole thing about you can't raise a child in New York. And the stuff they're saying about her daughter being a beater, like a violent thug. Throwing chairs at people. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful because I think in that trio, it really captures like the worst, most toxic female friendship dynamic.
Yeah.
And again,
Yeah.
it's so recognizable. Either you've been
Right.
in it or you know that group of girls.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's just every day there's a new villain. And it just goes
Yeah.
round in a circle. Those girls
Yes.
finishing that conversation about the Carrie Coon character. Then the next night, Carrie Coon and I've forgotten the one that isn't Michelle Monaghan.
Kate, Leslie Bibb's character.
Leslie Bibb's character having a little bitch about the Michelle Monaghan character. Like, it is
Right.
just
Yeah.
having too many wines and being like, I'm not trying to talk shit, but like,
And then when
Like,
they're
what
on the
does she do to
beach
her
and they're
face,
talking
okay?
about the
Like-
the body like
Yeah.
rape
Yes.
they got, and her being like, yeah, I think he maybe says that to everyone because he said that
Yeah.
to me as well. And then Leslie Bibb going, well, he didn't say it to me. It's like, yeah, you're totally right. It just like cycles around. I thought
Yeah.
from episode 1, it's like, oh, this is going to be them. Sort of like they gang up on her, but it's like
Right.
no, it just cycles around. Like,
yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah,
way
I
they
also-
kind of rub up into each other in the wrong way
Yeah.
constantly.
I don't know if we knew this in the first week, but Laurie has gone through a divorce. I think we knew she was like a single parent, but it sounds like, yeah, I mean, they talk about how it was kind of fucked. The guy was just kind of mooching off her essentially.
Yeah, now she's
she's
got
paying
alimony.
him alimony. Yeah.
Yep, yep. And then you have Michelle Monaghan going, she's with this new guy, and she's like, oh, we're just
Yeah.
obsessed with each other. And just, again, just
Yeah.
like not reading the room, and Carrie Coon being like, well, you know, that'll
She's
wear
never
off.
been
And she's
married.
like, no, it
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah, he's younger than me, and I'm just crazy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you're right. Later on, the Kate character being like, I mean, they're barely in the same city. Like, what's going
Yeah.
on there? Like,
yeah.
Oh, and that wonderful line where it's like, when there's so much, you know what it means when there's so much front, right? That there's a lot of back. It's so good, and it's so again, it's just perfect. Like, it's 10:30 on a Thursday, and you've had too much wine, and
Yeah.
you really think you're saying something.
Yeah. And I love them being like, you know, discussing their bodies and stuff, and her going, and one of them being like, oh, well, you know, I guess it's just all that, you know, I guess it's just the food in Austin. You know,
Yeah.
I'm in Hollywood. You know, it's obviously very different. And she's like, no, and they're just going into her diet like.
I eat
Yeah.
a lot of chicken, actually.
If I need
I
protein,
didn't
I
like
just have
beans.
chicken.
Yeah.
Now I eat a lot of beans.
It's also like, I feel like has tapped in again to wellness in a way where I feel like maybe 3 years ago those women would have been ayahuasca mums and like very like trying to tap into spirituality, and then now, and it kind of dovetails really into like what wellness is on TikTok at the moment, which is everyone's obsessed with hitting their protein goals, especially
Right.
women. You've got to have your 200 grams of protein every day, and it's like, that's such a funny way to torture other women.
Yeah.
There's also that great moment where Jacqueline is going to bed. She takes Stritala's book with her, and you know is looking at the front, flips to the back cover. It's Stritala as a young woman, flips back, old woman. I mean, it's pretty overt, but it is like everyone ages. Your business is like being beautiful, and there's a time where that comes
Will
to an
end.
end, changes for someone like that. So yeah, that commentary of like, don't invest your entire identity in being a young, beautiful woman, which she's obviously already concerned about. Like, they make fun of her essentially for like getting like her face sandblasted and being like, she used to have the face that everyone wanted,
Yeah.
which is,
And
yeah,
I love that
so
we've still got like no specifics about exactly, like, she's a famous TV actress,
Yeah.
but we've got
Yeah.
no specifics about like what
it is,
kind of
or-
show, if it's like Alias or if it's like a drama, or like it could be fucking anything.
it could be real trashy. I
Yeah.
half expect it's going to be something kind of like a real dud.
I
But
feel
I
like
like,
it's
I
like,
like that it takes me out of stuff so much when they like have like a fake version of a real TV, you know, when they're
Yeah.
like, oh, the show is called this, and you just immediately, you're like, I mean, that wouldn't be a real show. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, yeah.
I like it was kind of in like season 1 with the girl boss kind of goop analog.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That, what's her name, played the beautiful hair. What's her name?
Connie Britton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where it's like, you can kind of see her as being kind of a Gwyneth Paltrow-y type of figure, but it's not explicitly that.
Yeah, yeah.
In my mind, like the Michelle Monaghan is like what's her name from Grey's Anatomy,
Oh, yeah.
where it's like you just kind of
yeah.
know her from one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like how I'm choosing to read it. There's nothing in there that actually confirms that. It's just
No,
a
that's
vibe
a
I
good-
get.
That's a good
call.
read. Yeah, it's like it is
kind of an
she's-
elevated soap that, you're right. It's like,
And
yeah,
like
she's
you
been doing
recognize
it
this
for 20
person
years.
because that show's been on
Exactly,
forever.
because
Yeah.
people keep saying the running thing with her, with people recognizing her as being like, oh, you're that famous actress from that show. It's not like, oh, you're Michelle Monaghan. You know, it's not like
Yeah,
she's a name unto herself because she's been in a lot of big movies. It's like she's that person from that one thing. And that one thing is either like massive or has just been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I think it probably is like something like that.
I think also I've seen other people talk about how this show is kind of about identity and like how we present ourselves and like how we want to present to the world is so different from the reality of ourselves, obviously. And so Michelle Monaghan's thing of like, I'm famous and therefore famous people look like this and they act like this and they have friends like this. Whereas like how she's seen as like, oh, that's an actress that is well known from that show.
Yeah.
Like it's not necessarily like, wow, she's gorgeous, or like look at her enjoying her life or whatever. With like the rat lifts, it's this thing of like, we are rich and this is how rich people act and these are the schools that rich people go to. And we're all here because our daughter is studying Buddhism and we all support that, even though we didn't really ask her where she wanted to go. Or
Yeah, that's right. Her being like, you could have picked another resort to stay, and her dad being like, well, this is just the kind of stuff that you like.
Yeah, the man at the store said, you like this one.
Yeah. I keep forgetting that their name is Ratliff. It's such a good name.
Saxon Ratliff. Like, it's
Saxon
honestly
Ratliff.
such a read in itself to name it a character Saxon Ratliff.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, when you read it, it almost looks like rat life. It's like, those fucking rats.
This is, I mean, of the many great skills of Mike White, naming characters. Ned Schneebly.
Yeah.
He gets
Such
it.
a good
gets it.
character name.
Well, I think that's all of them, right?
Yeah, we close on that shot of the Tim character, wrapping up that call, walking back into the condo, and then just a big zoom out of the wilds of Thailand, all the animal noises.
And I feel like the last... Yeah, they're really focusing on the animals and the monkeys a lot. And did last episode end the same? Like kind of a bit of a like an almost like kind of POV through the through the bushes, kind of staring in, sort of thing.
Ominous type of thing.
Yeah.
I saw... So I'm really trying to avoid TikTok fan theories. I'm really trying. They're getting pushed into my algorithm. And I saw one which is like, I think the killer isn't a human at all.
Yeah, I saw a bit of that.
And I'm like, God, I'd love it. I'd love it if a herd of elephants trampled these people to death.
Yeah, they're
Or
really,
a monkey ripped someone's face off.
They're really leaning into the monkeys for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did see someone's analysis of the first episode, the 3 kids on the boat, and the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Because Saxon's got his sunglasses on, the daughter's got her headphones on, and I can't remember what the other kid's got, but
He's
his
not
hand
talking.
over his face or something
He's
like that.
smoking or something, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe,
right.
but no, totally. I saw that too. Yeah.
I want to call out the stupidest theory I've seen, which was that Guy Tok is going to become a disenfranchised employee, get shut down by Mook, and go on a fucking shooting rampage.
Hell yeah. Incel vibes.
Yeah, right? It's like, I don't get that from that character.
That's so funny.
When we
That's
went to
so funny.
when we went to
think-
the elephant sanctuary in Koh Samui, like the one, like the good one, the like nice one.
Sure.
And they talked about they were telling us one night one of the elephants just like got out, just left. And then they found it down the road at 7-Eleven. The manager from the 7-Eleven called them up and was like, "Hey, I think one of your elephants is down the road here."
He just like me for real.
So an elephant, and I'd love to see a little elephant in the mix.
Hey, who wouldn't?
A little babas shooting spree.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
I want to see a little mudeng. I want to see a little hippo.
Yeah. But I'm into it. And again, another thing I've
same.
seen a lot of hate about online. I'm really into the new theme song.
Yes.
But
You know,
we did get a
get-
little
yes.
taste of the
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
No, I like it. I mean,
Yeah.
I saw there's so many people being like, "Oh, I was hanging out for that banger theme song," and like, I get it, man. Even just like on the level of like that theme had become kind of like too much of a weird little meme in its own right.
Sure.
You give this new one a chance. It's good. I like it.
Yeah.
Is it okay? Can I ask? And this is probably telling way too much about how I live my life, but I feel like the theme in the second episode sounds like different, like it's on different instruments. Is that just because maybe the quality of my stream was worse in the first episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't sound different to
didn't
me.
jump out. Okay,
No,
I thought maybe
no.
it was being played on like traditional instruments in the second episode, whereas the first one it didn't sound like a traditional instrument.
It
at all.
definitely builds into from
Yeah,
like
exactly.
sounding pretty lo-fi and traditional into like a kind of trance ravey sort of thing by the
Yeah,
end.
yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
just more the start is a bit more subdued.
I
And
will
then,
say, since I've been to Vietnam, my ears haven't popped,
oh no.
and I got back on Christmas Day.
That's like,
so
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
while ago now.
yeah, so
Okay.
I'm like, I am struggling.
yeah.
I'll go to the doctor.
I had that happen once.
Please
I had
do.
like I had my ears like for a week after getting back somewhere, and it was
Oh,
like,
really?
it felt insane. Speaking
Speaking
of
of
feeling
feeling insane.
speaking of having things in your head that you need to clear out.
Oh,
Yeah.
brother.
Season 2, episode 6 of Severance.
Beautiful, beautiful Severance.
Gorgeous Severance.
I really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
I have so much more confidence in this show than I did a couple of weeks ago. Which I'm,
Really? I didn't
yeah.
realize you weren't confident in the show.
I was a little concerned about the Ortbo, the
Right.
excursion. It was a little. I was grappling with the tone, but I'm really enjoying where
It's almost like the show pretended to be someone else and then fucked you while you were watching that episode, and
Yeah.
you feel really betrayed.
You feel weird about it.
Yeah. But now I've
But now I've
fucked
got
the show again.
yeah, I've got under a
Yeah, that's
sheet.
cool.
Yeah.
Now it's fine.
Yeah.
I've closed the loop.
Oh boy. So
Yeah. Where does this pick up? It picks up with Mark basically being like, "What the fuck just happened to my head?"
Yeah.
I saw my wife, but she was somewhere else. She was in her clothes, but she was in like a office.
she didn't seem to
space.
recognize me. She was saying all this weird stuff. Are they like holding her there? Is she okay?
Yeah.
What are they doing to her?
And I don't know that he's getting a lot of answers from Mugabe at that point, but she's like, "Well, the reintegration's working."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good sign.
I do like that they're kind of starting to present Ragabi's character as like, I'm just gonna twiddle with this a bit and
Yeah.
see what happens.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. Yes, I think you're right. There's a bit more of like she doesn't know what she's doing necessarily, and I don't think she has Mark's best interests
No.
in mind either.
I think she just wants to bring him down, right? And so it's like,
Yeah.
however
Yeah.
I do that is fine. Because
Yeah.
it does seem like this. Well, yeah, I mean, listening to that the like official pod with Adam Scott and Ben Stiller, I think I said this last week. I'd kind of forgotten all the stuff about Petey and how like
Right.
when we first are introduced to him in season 1, he's been reintegrated and it's like fucking his shit up. He's like
Yes.
kind of is driven sort of insane by this like
Completely.
crossover of memories and is having these like blackouts and seizures, and so we know that it's like a pretty incredibly dangerous thing to do once you've been severed.
Yes, yeah, and I think you saw this pretty recently, Jen, as well. Like, I think, is it like the scene where he kind of collapses? He's at like, he's trying to get food from somewhere, and he's like, I don't
yes,
have
he's
the
at
tokens.
the petrol station.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he's just trying to get some food, but he's kind of wandering around and
because I know, yeah, in the severed floor they have the vending machines with the tokens and stuff.
oh, that's
And
a good line through.
He's like,
Yeah,
he's like again halfway there, but obviously he does not
because
survive.
Petey keeps going, "I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry."
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
And
right.
then in
we
this
see
episode,
this,
Mark's going, "I'm so hungry. I just need to eat. I'm so hungry."
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't
We
make that connection before.
we've got that precedent of like this going horribly wrong, and Ragabi I think has said like, well, he stopped like doing all of the stuff I told him to do. He stopped taking the supplements. He stopped
Yep.
drinking the chicken soup. But that's sort of we pick up directly from there. Then we're down in the severed floor. And I really liked sort of the storytelling of this episode, because there's a big rug pull after this. I think it's after this like entire section, because Mark has got Helly come and have a chat with him. He's like, hey, we shared vessels, great, just wonderful writing, love the weird Keir Egan terminology.
Yeah.
And
yeah, but then he's like, we had sex. He does it in this, like, very, again, I love how the show plays with, like, what these people, what the innies have as, like, assumed knowledge. Like, they have to know how to speak English and general concepts of the world and of life. Like, they can't be literal children who just don't know anything. But they haven't experienced it. So they don't know what the sky looks like. They obviously... I maybe would have memories of having sex or how to have sex, you would assume, I guess. But, like, yeah, I really love that, like, sort of slowly, and I think this might be something that they play with more and more as the show goes on, this just thing of, like, what are the things that are left inside an innie's head that they kind of know from the outside without knowing specifics. I find that so fascinating.
So there is, I've seen this come up a few times in reading about it. There are, in reality, several kinds of memory, basically.
Right.
There is a semantic memory. Semantic memory is like knowing concepts, knowing about sex exists, and when you feel attracted to someone, you want to have sex with them. And then episodic... Oh, no.
Not always.
Yeah, I think more than your ears got blocked, Jen. And then episodic memory is like, that time I had sex.
Right.
So I think there's something to do with a separation of that. Because you're right, it is such an odd balance of, like, they know how to use a computer, but they don't know how to use this computer, or they don't know what the purpose... Like,
and they know what being at work is.
Right.
Because also, I thought there was playing into this, there was a really interesting moment when he's got the nosebleed later on, just to briefly jump ahead, where I forget what it is, but she says to him, she asks him a question about something, and he's like, I don't know what that is.
Oh, interesting.
Can you remember that moment? Anyway, it's something specific about, like, the outside world.
No, I do remember that.
She's like, have you had any of this happen, or have you been doing this? And he's like, yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
Or it's something you can do to stop the nosebleed. And again, it's a very, like, it's a real world concept, and it's like, oh yeah, of course, like they've not, like...
Oh!
She says, have you been...
She says, do you have a deviated septum?
Yes. Yeah.
And he says, I don't know what that is.
I don't know what it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Miss Huang's like, would you like me to rub Vaseline into your nostrils? And he's like, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah, not knowing what a deviated septum is, it's like someone of his age in the real world would know what a deviated septum is, but it would make sense that there'd be no, like, anything specific medical...
Right.
Body-wise, like, wouldn't need to be in the innie brain, so that.
And I wonder as well, like, if you're being severed, if you have to do, like, a kind of physical check or something to be eligible.
Yeah. But yeah, Mark, he goes back to fucking typing away at his desk, because after he tells Helly she is fucking rocked, obviously.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, okay. She goes off, she takes off her shoes, she wanders around the hallways, she has a kind of personal reckoning, I guess, and returns. They kind of, like, bump into each other, they both want to apologize, they both want to sort of reconcile, and she's like...
And they both wanna... Thick.
Oh yeah.
This was a nasty episode.
Very horny episode.
Horny like, week for us, TV wise.
Yeah, he's like, do you want me to describe it to you, baby? Do you want the details? Yeah, do you?
Oh, I loved so much about this ep. And it
is sad, like, for the severed people that they don't have Austin Powers or Borat.
Yeah, they know the concept of parody, but...
Yeah.
Helly, are you ready to shag, baby?
Yeah. What am I, your wife? Sorry. Ben, you were making
That's
an
great.
actual point.
That's great. An edit where it's not the Rickon book that's in there. It's just a copy of Borat. It's the like gift pack of Borat that's like got the Mankini packaged in there.
Yes. And you know Dylan would be all over that.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah, he'd be loving it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, so what was I going to say? I liked, and I think this is something I loved about the first season too, and I think because we began, like, it's so plot heavy up until now this season, there's less of a focus on how fucking charmingly awkward and weird these characters are with each other. Yeah, like Adam Scott being like, do you want me to... Like, not something I never would have thought anyone would say in that instance.
Do you want me to describe? And
why would she want you to describe it?
Yeah, but he says it and you're like, fucking gross. But then he's like, his justification for it is like quite sweet. He's like, it's your body. You should, you have, if you want to, you have a right to kind of know what happens. Like, I guess that is kind of, in a weird way, like the nicest thing you can do in this incredibly fucked up specific scenario is to give her that option.
Yeah.
And Haley's decision to be like, no, what I want is the memory for myself. Mm-hmm. When I first watched it, I was like, that's weird. That doesn't track for me. But now I kind of see it as she wants it for herself because obviously she has feelings for Mark. But also it's like kind of an act of rebellion against Helena, like the Audi. It's like, you can't take this from me as well.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to reclaim this back. You think you have this over me, you don't.
And yes, as you say, it definitely helps that we know from before that happening that she did have feelings for him.
Yeah.
So it's not, and we kind of see her remembering the kiss and everything. So it's not like there was nothing there and then Helena was the one that sort of, initiated this and kind of kicked this all off. Like you can tell that it's like, beyond just her body feeling violated, that she's feeling jealous because she kind of did she did sort of ultimately want that to happen. It's
this combination of feeling cheated on and also feeling violated, which, like, there's not as much of a focus on Mark. Like, he's like, well, she tricked me, like, I thought it was you. Maybe, like, I've seen a lot of discussion about how he was, like, violated in that situation as well. Yeah. Not as much of that within the text of the show, but I mean, that's okay. They can't cover it. But he's sort of going, he's really like going on the front foot and being like, I swear, like, I had no idea. Yeah. And I think, like, because even in the last episode, she's really like, how could you have not known it was, before he's even gotten into the fact that they had sex, she's like, how could you not have known it was me? And they're like, but it is you.
Yeah.
And I really like that this episode has kind of delved more into, like, they are the same person. Obviously, like, we're seeing Mark reintegrate, but like, the innie is, I think Dylan is the other example where it explores, like, is the innie, like, the cleanest, purest version of you? Like, is it a separate person, or is it the you? Like, is it the you are?
Yeah. I mean, over time they become separate people because they're having their own experiences. And
sure.
There's like great line at the start of season 1 where I think it's when Petey sees him outside, he's like, you're sad in there as well. Like, like, I could always tell. Like, you obviously don't know what it is, but you are carrying that around, and it's kind of worse because you just have this. Ominous
aura, whatever.
So that idea that they, like, personality wise, they go in different directions, and certainly you see that with Dylan with his outie life versus his innie life. But the stuff that's like hanging around there. I'm loving
Merritt Weaver as Dylan's outie wife coming in. I think watching her kind of grapple with this all has been really good. Adds so much depth to everything. And the scenes with her and Dylan in the wellness center or whatever it is.
Tell me more about our offspring.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But I love her as well, Jen. I feel like she is such a warm presence, and it makes so much sense for Innie Dylan to already be in love with her.
Yeah. And I love watching her kind of fall in love with him.
Yeah.
In a way where she's like, you're kind of... Because there's always that thing where people say, if you ever want to humanize someone, you like imagine them as a child. And I'm just loving the way that she is really grappling with where her life is on the outside and the kind of choices she's made, and you know, the way that maybe she feels let down by her outie Dylan. And I love the way that there's a divide between that and then watching her kind of fall in love with this like simpler, more innocent, almost childlike Dylan as well. Like,
Totally.
and like they're falling in love for the first time again. Like, I just think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
such a lovely. It's not sentimental either, like the way it's played. It's just really lovely, and it's got like a
feels
lot of
very
heart.
genuine.
Yeah,
And there's something about that like weird room and like the softness of it, and it's got this kind of like whole like vibe to it, which feels like it's really almost designed to like try and get this to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's your outie, but unencumbered by all of the pain and the failures. Right. That's the appeal of the innie. But I guess we can come back to the Mark stuff towards the end because let's actually get out of the way. Helly and Mark root.
They root. They go into this weird room, and they, for some reason, it's important that it be in something kind of
tent.
similar to a tent. So
Yeah.
they're like under a. What are they under? They're just under
Just a sheet of plastic.
Sheet
Dust
of plastic.
sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Mark gets his he starts getting a bit of reintegration issues, gets the blood nose, goes and gets the medical exam, and they sort of have to lie about what they were doing, which seems kind of pointless because you know they are aware that they're being monitored at all times.
Watched. Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you think also, like, they kind of spoke about it on the Severance podcast as well, that Mark also wants to tell Helly that because it's a way that he won't have anything held over him by Milchek.
Oh yeah.
Oh sure.
Yes.
And so them doing it there is almost like a fuck you to Milchek as well. It's like,
Sure.
Yeah.
you thought this was something that could like divide us, and actually it's made us fall in love so far.
Yeah.
Right, because I think Helly also says earlier in the episode, like, well, Helena's just done this as a tactic, you know, to force a wedge between us. And so, this is both of them wiping the slate clean of any threats that were held above their heads. Totally,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, Miss Wong is doing the medical and was like, have you seen any, like, hallucinations or auras or anything? And I think as much as, like, hiding the fact they just rooted from her, like, maybe it's, you're right, Tommy, like, they're being monitored, but also, like, you just don't want to tell this little girl what's actually going on.
He also doesn't really know, like, he doesn't, his innie doesn't know that he's been reintegrating, right? So he's just getting this stuff happen and not being like, oh, I see, this is from the procedure. But he must know that it's like something weird going on, because he's had these little flickers where he's like seen the basement and seen his house. So
and then the thing I kind of mentioned before is that he, while she is talking to him, he starts to have these insane, intense sort of flashes forward and back, and then bang, he's back in the basement with Ragabi, and he's actually just been telling her this. This is something that happened earlier. This is a memory that I guess he's been describing to her. Because she's like, well, this stuff's gonna get more and more, frequent and serious as we get closer to it.
All this stuff is so well done. This like blurring in and out of the innie and outie, and the reintegration
It kind of makes me think that Severance, the severed floor, is actually happening at the same time as real time. Do you know what I mean?
I definitely think there's something fucked up going on with time.
The relativity of it,
Yes. Yeah.
In that, like, I never really thought about it before, but now I'm like, are these just memories?
I can't.
Being
When they did the
implanted, or-
Ordbo thing, I kind of thought, like, when that episode started and we'd seen the start of the reintegration the episode before, and then there was kind of I was like, oh, is this happening at the same time? And I was like, wait, that's kind of not really possible. But maybe it is.
Like, maybe they are just kind of like meat sacks or something during the day, and then they're back out at 5:15. I don't know.
it would make sense. I've seen some like there's been some sort of notes made by viewers of like I think the very first episode or the first time Mark goes in to Severance, he takes off his watch and it's like 4 p.m. or what he takes off a watch, and then when he picks it back up, it's like more than 24 hours later. Right. Oh, it's the date. Sorry, it's the date. He goes in the morning. It's the 4th of Feb. He comes out in the evening, at 5:05 p.m. and it's the 5th of Feb.
I could see that being a big rug pull because we do know, obviously that would be such a, not easy, but like thing that they could play with of like, these people don't know, how long they've been in there for. And like, also if your outie calls in sick and just doesn't go in for a week, then you when you log back in, when those elevator doors open again, it could have been... it could have been a month. It could have been a year outside.
Totally,
for all they know. Yeah,
and it like ties into the theme of the show. Like, of course, they're going to exploit the workers as much as they can, right?
Yeah.
And then so we got the Bert and Irving storyline.
Yes.
Yes. We meet
Should we jump
Bert's husband, Fields.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The creepy ass John Noble from Lord of the Rings and Fringe, which I watched back in the day. Which I kind of feel like he's been cast as a red herring, this guy seems too creepy. Maybe he's actually completely innocent. I don't know.
I kind of thought he's like a more pompous version of Irving.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they kind of mirror each other. Like, Irving on the inside, Severed Irving is quite pompous and quite particular and quite fussy, which is who Bert falls in love with. In the Severed floor.
Yeah.
And then on the outside, he's with a very fussy and particular person as well.
Yeah. Good call. Good call.
So I'm kind of like, I don't know. I love it. I love anything around work wives meeting real life wives. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
This justification for, yet another reason why someone would want to get severed. Is just incredible.
Yeah.
My favorite line from that being like, it's actually, we actually did the Severance. It was a message from Jesus.
Yeah.
And then they go, Tatoru's like, Jesus Christ?
Christ?
And he's like, that's the one.
What does he describe himself as? He's like a bit of a, not rapscallion, but he's like talking about how he got up to some shit back in the day.
Yeah.
And now he's in search of salvation.
Pipes in and goes, And they talk about being at church and the idea that the innie is like a clean version of you, so the innie will go to, and they say this is like the early days of Severance, so clearly they were wanting to get the word out, get some good PR. They had, the churches going, hey, this is a way of, if you've done some shit in the past, you can have like a version of you that's completely clean and pure that will go to heaven. And
this is a big swing that I'm taking in the moment based on vibes alone. Do we think Bert, Irving were both in Nam together and like did some shit?
Boy.
You know what I mean? Because we know that Irving is a veteran.
Yes.
And he seems like he's probably like grunt, kind of like lower end soldier.
Yeah.
But if you're like sinned to the point of needing to sever, you've done something bad. And I'm just thinking like on the scale of like what to do that.
Yeah.
Because like,
I mean, it's interesting because it's like their generation with the church. You would assume that his sin was just being gay, right?
Yeah.
Like that age bracket and being like very religious.
Yeah.
But that's still, but so it's not like they've gone like, oh, we have to, we just can't live this life anymore. Yeah. So clearly in their heads, that's not the concern. Like,
and I just think as well, like there's a level of wealth that they're living in, which I'm like, it just seems like ex-diplomat or like it's giving like ex-military or corporate or weapons
Bert
dealer
being
or
dressed
something.
in like the fucking black turtleneck, essentially, like he looks like a spy.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up or think of the idea that Irving that they had been.
I don't think they knew each other in the military, but they have that something in common.
Yeah. and maybe this is kind of silly to be caught up in some theorizing stuff, but like, I thought maybe what Bert had done was tied to Lumen. Maybe not. Because there's that weird moment where Fields is like, oh, you've been there for 20 years. And Bert's like, no, it was 10. And Irving's like, well, yeah, the severance procedure has only been around for 12 years. So.
Oh, yeah.
That stuck out to me. There's something...
I feel like maybe Fields worked for Lumen, or is maybe Egan adjacent, perhaps?
Potentially.
There's just a certain look about him, too. And I feel like all of those Egans look kind of... There's something in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, like I said, that could
really
be misdirection, or it could just be, yes, exactly what it seems.
Because in the middle of this scene, and I couldn't quite place what we were actually seeing and where this was meant to be happening, that we see someone looking through some papers, like some records of employees. Was that meant to be Fields, or I couldn't quite tell where that was supposed to be happening.
So that was the Drummond character who like did Milchick's performance review.
Sure.
Oh, yes.
And it was Irving's house.
Sure,
So
okay.
they've
Oh,
waited
yeah,
till
that's right.
He's left, he's gone out for dinner.
Oh.
And they've
That's
gone
right.
and found that stuff that we saw last season, his research that he'd been doing on
That's
the
right.
outside.
That's
which we didn't really
right.
get any context for at all previously. We just know that Irving's been doing some digging.
Right. So yeah, then Fields asks him, "Do you think that you two made love on the severed floor?" And I love anytime someone says this. Please stop embarrassing our guest.
Yes. So
Man.
good.
The amount of times I should have pulled that out during a dinner.
Please stop
That's
embarrassing our
so
guest.
that's so proper, isn't it? Not by name, our guest. Just a
Yeah.
reminder. You do not have equal standing in this social arrangement right now.
No.
A wonderful, we talked about it a bit with regards to the girls on White Lotus, but again, another real red wine scripting moment. You know, just like, I'm going to start burning this fucking night down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's also like, just like, well, I need to know. And it's like, well, how are we... The whole point is that we don't know. And what can we,
Also,
what can
like,
we do about it?
you encourage your husband to do this.
Yeah.
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 The sort of behavior of Fields, the sort of, like you say, like the sort of drunk partner who's like breaching the sort of, polite conversation. I do feel like he is just a nice guy whose husband had a weird job and he's reacting kind of the way anyone would. I don't know. It's definitely uncomfortable, but it's kind of like fair enough, right?
Yeah.
I just get so much more of a sinister vibe from Fields. Like he knows something.
Yeah.
He's struggling with something. Like the drinking kind of gave me that vibe of like he's been doing, and the way that he's so contrarian to like we have corn. Oh yes, let's just give our guest a pile of corn. There's just something so like belittling about every kind of microaggressive about everything he's kind of saying to Bert, and it's either a control thing or it's Bert has hurt him so deeply that he is
he's got the guy who he cheated on him with over for dinner. It absolutely could be either or both, right? But yeah, really good scene. Love John Noble as that character. I hope we see a lot more of him.
So then we get Mark has as he's sort of, as we've had that scene before where he's come out of the severed floor and he realizes that he's kind of in his basement. He's got all the wires and shit hooked up to him. This is the thing the show does really well. It does such a good job of having stuff that looks so obviously fake, just like a shitty little computer with some wires on him, but you just still totally buy into it. It's like, yeah, this is how this procedure works. So he is like, fuck this, I don't want to do this anymore. Is starving, as she mentions that's a side effect. So he goes to the diner and he's just absolutely just deleting plates and plates of food.
I did see a screenshot that was very funny on the internet. Someone screenshot him eating with his chopsticks and hands.
Yeah,
I know.
And they were
I
like,
know.
no man with an Asian wife would ever let him do this.
Yeah, no, that definitely stuck out. Like, what the fuck? This. Yeah, he's wolfing it down.
And Helena's there, making eyes at him.
Yeah.
And so she comes over to introduce herself, and like, I kind of had, not had sort of forgotten this. Like, yeah, of course, Audi Mark would know who she is because she's like basically the head of the company.
The face
he
of
would
the
be
company.
very aware of who she
Mm-hmm.
is, and boy, I fucking loved this.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck was going on here.
The weird
This-
flirting.
Yeah.
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 And that thing of how much of a separation between the innie and the outie there is there. Like, Helena's like a cold, hard bitch. She has said some pretty awful things about the innies, but she has also clearly been envious of Helly's relationship with Mark, of like a relationship with anyone, it seems.
Yeah.
And, if she wasn't born into this fucked up family in this situation, would she just be like a nice, normal Helly
Yeah.
who wants to find love? But then she's not. Like, that's the interesting thing. She also is Helena. And
Yeah.
there's this
Yeah.
mixture of like genuine flirting and weird sort of energy between them, and then she kind of grills him about some of the weird mystery stuff that she wants to know.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, they tell me you're doing really good work. And he's like, cool, they don't tell me anything about.
Yeah.
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 And when she says, it must be so stressful after all you went through with your wife, Hannah, right? And he's like, Gemma? And it's like, she would know it's Gemma.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely she would. Is it
So
like
what's the point of her getting the name wrong?
Yeah. Is it like a mean girl tactic of like...
Kind of fuck you type of thing?
Yeah, like, forget about your wife. I'm here in front of you.
Yeah.
And also, I guess as well, in her mind, they've only had sex a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
So that would be like a weird connection to something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what she kind of... I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what the parallel is, but it's like... Yeah. Maybe it's almost like seeing a porn star that you know of
yeah.
in real life.
Yeah,
Right.
That's the only thing I can kind of compare it to. And okay, I'm going to make this about me for a second.
Sure.
Are you aware of a OnlyFans creator called Girthmaster?
I think it's not the first time he's gotten that reaction, but
No, I'm not.
Yeah. Girthmaster is very big in the online
Sure.
and in his videos. And he kind of went on like a publicity spree I want to say 6 months ago or something like that.
Yep.
Anyway, come to find out he's a massive Triple J fan and follows
Oh,
me on
wow.
Instagram.
okay.
Oh, wow.
And so we ended up like getting like lunch together when he was in Sydney like a few months ago.
Oh.
And it was so funny, right? Because I'm just trying to play it cool. I've not seen much of his work, but I'm familiar with his game.
Yep.
And but also it's so funny because he's like overwhelmingly a female audience.
Right.
And so we were at lunch and people would come up to him and go like just normal looking women would come up and be like,
Wow.
hey, I just want to say you're awesome.
Wow.
Or like, and it's just like, that's actually making the connection for me is Helena
Yeah.
going up to Mark
Yeah.
Yeah.
and being like, yeah, so like, what's your vibe? Like, what's,
Yeah.
sorry to hear
that's-
about your wife, Hannah, or whatever the fuck. Like,
Yeah. Man, that's
I won't say that
So
anyone who
funny.
approached him was that creepy. Like,
no.
no, but it's just very funny to see women go and be like, what's up?
Yeah.
How long are you in town for?
in this like one-sided, like they've got all the context.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have that idea of what he means to them.
And
Like,
literally a sex
Yeah,
object.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually the only parallel that could be made, and you've fucking found it.
Anyway,
But yeah.
shout out if he's listening.
In any case, this rattles Mark. He kind of flees from there.
Because up until that point, I think they are genuinely getting along, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely vibey.
Yeah. And then fucking... Oh, she also asks, what happened during the OTC event?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
she keeps
she was like-
apologizing for that. She keeps bringing up that. So
Yeah.
sorry about that again.
Must have been
and-
very confusing. And I think she is at one point like, so what happened? And he's like, oh, nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then fully kills the conversation with the Hannah line. And he feels fucked up and weird, and he storms out, and he goes back home, down to the basement, and says... Because I think Ragabi has pitched like a potential solution. Like,
She realizes that the chip or whatever it is, she can see in the X-ray that it is kind of like near enough the surface that she could just like pull it out. I think.
no, she's like flooding it with some kind of chemical to
Right.
speed up the process. And he's like, oh, fucking, I'm not doing any of that. That's why he kind of leaves earlier.
Yeah, but then he
Yeah.
comes back
Yeah.
and he's like, "All right, jack me in." So she
Yeah.
drills into the back of his skull,
Yep.
and
Oof.
he then is like, "How long's it going to take?" And she's like, "Oh, pretty quick." And then Adam Scott's acting in this is fucking great. Like just kind of I assume what it's meant to be is he's just everything is merging all at once. So
Yeah.
however many, I forget how long. Have they said at any point how long he's been in there? How long he's been severed for? However long, a significant amount of memories just hitting him at once.
I think it's at least 2 years.
Right.
I think maybe like Gemma's death has come up at some point, and it's like two plus
Right.
years ago. So yeah, quite a lot of memories
to
stacked
all
up.
kind of be, and the timeline of them and everything, and he's kind of told not to move, and he can hear his sister out the front, and he's like, I can't ignore it. My car's out the front. She'll know I'm here.
Yeah.
Goes up, is talking to her, is like, I don't want to do the eyeballs thing.
Yep.
I've been doing this other thing, and then he
Did I
collapses.
imagine that she's like, I haven't heard from you in weeks? Did she say that?
I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
I'm not. Yeah. Fuck. That.
Sorry,
would
I'm
be
throwing
important.
something in the mix that I didn't
Yeah.
verify.
Yeah, I can't recall.
I think. Oh, I think she says like she's like been calling heaps. Like he's got all these missed calls from her. Because she's like, why have you been cutting me out of all of your, your little your
big
plans
plan.
and stuff.
Little schemes.
Yeah. And then, and she's like, I've got this other idea. Remember how I came across that woman who was clearly severed and was pregnant? Well, and I had a crush on, she says.
Yeah.
Great detail. Well, that's given me an idea. And he's like, no, I'm working on it myself. And then he fucking starts
Hits the
going,
deck.
back and forth. And hits the deck. And Ragabi's there. And Devon's like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
What's going on? And I think that's it, right?
I think that's it,
Yeah.
But they did just do such a great job of like really getting across how intense. Like they just, when you see him, his face is just caked in sweat.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
they're foaming at the mouth.
yeah.
That's the other thing too. I really love how, and we've spoken about it before. I really love how different he looks between the severed floor
Yes.
and the outside world. The way he looks so aged, so tired
Yeah.
outside, and he looks perfectly coiffed. And it is the same in the severed floor, and it is the same person. You're like, so how does that work too? Like, because it is the same person.
I love like when Helly's kind of kicking off earlier when she's getting all annoyed at Helena and her doing that to her, and she's like, she dresses me every morning like a little baby.
So good.
Yeah.
There's, I think, one little bit that we didn't touch on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there was a bit more with Dylan and Gretchen, his wife. Like, she goes home at the end of the day and he's like, how did it go? She lies and says that it didn't happen.
Yep.
So I think that is definitely reinforcing that idea of like, she's developing these confusing feelings for her own husband in a way.
Yep.
And then the other stuff was with Milkchick. So his response to the fucking performance review tearing him apart, he meets up with Miss Wong initially and is like, hey, you're head of the floor for the day. I've got some personal shit to go deal with. Very tense scene. We learned that she is just an intern, essentially.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she's on her like college work experience, essentially.
Yeah. So, yep, just a teenager. Nothing weird about her. I mean, you know, beyond all the actually weird stuff.
Yep.
And then off he goes to the little storage room, and yeah, rather than I guess taking all of that performance review stuff as a real insult and a reason to be less devoted to the company, he goes the other way.
Yeah, dutifully kind of goes through all of the complaints about him.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, spends the day paper clipping papers until his fingers are raw.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, the fucking changing the way he talks. So, like, just a dead-on satire, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's really disturbing as well.
Yeah. Great ep.
Great ep.
Great app.
So there's 10 this season, so we're now, we're getting
I think
there.
we're, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
well over halfway. Wow.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do us for a big week of recapping. Thank you for
right.
joining us. We will see you next week for more Severance, more White Lotus, and who knows what else. The future is unwritten.
Bye.
Bye.